All right, we're going to test this out. It says that I am screen sharing, so hopefully everybody can see this. All right, I'm going to get right into it. So, this information came out last year, March 2019. Papadopoulos, Mueller investigated Israel ties, not Russian ones. Later on last year, in September 2019, Politico reported that Israel was accused of planting mysterious spy devices near the White House. I'm going to read the first paragraph. The U.S. government concluded within the past 2 years that Israel was most likely behind the placement of cell phone surveillance devices that were found near the White House and other sensitive locations around Washington, according to 3 former senior U.S. officials with knowledge of the matter. Okay. So what did Trump have to say about this? So when that information came out, Fox News reported that Trump said, "I do not believe Israel is spying on the U.S." And he went a little further and said that he finds it hard to believe that they would spy on us, basically. Well, we'll see about that. Because the Times of Israel released in May of this year, the FBI source in Russia probe called Israelis effing spies who should be killed. And the Times of Israel released the transcript, some of the transcript of what was said during this interrogation. So it says in the transcript, FBI source repeatedly mentions Israelis and the Mossad, the Israeli spy agency. Okay, so it seems that Papadopoulos was dating a woman who worked at the Israeli embassy, and they're questioning him about that relationship, saying she's probably working for Mossad. Looks like they're using some curse words. They called her fake Russian Jews, basically saying those fake Russian Jews. And then they go further into saying, no effing Russians here that aren't effing. The same with Israelis. They're all effing spies. Those effing bleep, they should execute them all. This is the FBI agent. So what this tells me is that there are people who are high in our government, like the FBI agents, who know that Israel's not our ally, even though many Americans seem to believe that, because our media keeps reinforcing that message that Israel's our greatest ally in the Middle East. And people don't really understand the history of how Israel was formed, what the Israeli government has done in the past, and what they continue to do now. So Trump, of course, said that, like I had said before, that, he didn't believe that Israel would be spying on us. Well, I have some information that suggests differently. Here is a article I put together. It's basically a blog post called The Art of Sexual Blackmail. I connected some connections as far as Epstein to Israel. But before that, the reason why I want to come to this blog here is because I mentioned Jonathan Pollard. So Jonathan Pollard was sentenced to life in prison for violations of the Espionage Act, spying and providing top secret classified information to Israel. He was released on parole in 2015 and served nearly 30 years in prison. And then I was reporting how in 2019, yet again, Israel was being accused by U.S. officials of planting surveillance devices in order to spy on the White House or near the White House. So as you can see, they have a history of this. But they don't just have a history of this in the far past. They have a history of this during 9/11. And this is something that Americans don't know. Maybe they don't know. Maybe they do know. Maybe they just thought it was some information that wasn't significant. But come to find out, sorry, this is in the way. So basically, Trump is being misleading. When he says that Israel would never spy on us, I just believe somebody like him of his stature would actually know that Israelis do spy on us. I don't think that he somehow didn't know and he's ignorant to that fact. I think he's playing us, and I'm going to show you why I think he's playing us. So here we go. This is a video of Donald Trump during his 2016 run for election, claiming that there were Muslims who were dancing near the World Trade Center that were detained on 9/11. Well, come to find out, they were actually Israelis. So I'm going to let you listen to this all the way through, and then I'll explain everything afterwards.
And I saw people, and I saw them on television and I read about it on the internet.
Donald Trump is doubling down with his claim that he saw Muslims in Jersey City celebrating on 9/11. At a campaign event in Columbus last night, he quoted a Washington Post article published a week after 9/11.
In Jersey City, within hours of two jetliners plowing into the World Trade Center, law enforcement authorities detained and questioned a number of people who were allegedly seen celebrating the attacks and holding tailgate style. Tailgate, you know what that means? Tailgate. That means football games, Ohio State, thousands of people.
Trump says the article proves he's telling the truth, but the reporter who wrote the article says, "I certainly do not remember anyone saying that thousands or even hundreds of people were celebrating. That was not the case."
The men who were detained due to the report they were taping the first plane crash and then celebrating and joking about it actually went on television and admitted it was their job to record the attack.
And at that point, we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad. The fact of the matter is, we are coming from a country that experiences terror daily. Our purpose was to document the event.
So, urban moving systems discovered in a white van that had checked positive for carrying explosives. And they were caught videotaping comments from the van. And, it just seems like they must have had prior knowledge of non-involvement.
They could have had prior knowledge.
And
it's easy to put a truck bomber, as we did, as happened in London, and happens in Iraq or Israel on a weekly basis.
Easy to put a truck bomber, as we did, as happened in London.
Carl, what about this question of advanced knowledge of what was going to happen on 9/11? How clear are investigators that some Israeli agents may have known something?
Well, it's very explosive information, obviously, and there's a great deal of evidence that they say they have collected. None of it necessarily conclusive. It's more when they put it all together. A bigger question, they say, is how could they not have known? Almost a direct quote, Brett.
It has been more than 16 years since a civilian working for the Navy was charged with passing secrets to Israel. Jonathan Pollard pled guilty to conspiracy to commit espionage and is serving a life sentence. At first, Israeli leaders claimed Pollard was part of a rogue operation, but later took responsibility for his work. Now, Fox News has learned some U.S. investigators believe that there are Israelis again very much engaged in spying in and on the U.S., who may have known things they didn't tell us before September 11th.
So here, I want to explain to you what happened here in this video. So basically, the first clip that you saw was Inside Edition report about Donald Trump on the campaign trail, claiming there were Muslims dancing near the World Trade Center on 9/11. Second part was the dancing Israelis who were detained on 9/11, speaking on an Israeli television show about recording the events that day. Then you saw Yuval Aviv, who is an Israeli-American security consultant and writer. He's also known for his work with Mossad, being interrogated by the FBI about the Israelis found in a white van that checked positive for bomb residue. They were caught videotaping and celebrating the attack. The dancing Israelis in Liberty Park were suspected to have had prior knowledge of or involvement in that day. So yes, he also says that in the white van, it tested positive for bomb residue. I mean, that's something that we don't hear about. Nobody paid attention to that, I guess. And then that Fox News 4-part series on Israeli spying on the U.S. leading up to 9/11 and after 9/11. So that was what you witnessed there. So the fact that Trump would say that the Israelis wouldn't spy on us, Israelis aren't involved in espionage on us. It's just not the truth. Okay, so yeah, here's Ghislaine Maxwell. So as you see, let's recap. So basically, we have Papadopoulos, who was actually interrogated over Israel. The FBI agents were basically saying the Israelis always effing spy on us, just like the Russians. Last year it was also reported by Politico that Israelis were spying on us, and then Trump denied that and said that he couldn't believe that they would do that. But obviously we have a history of Israelis spying on us, even right before 9/11 and during 9/11 they were spying on us. So he's not being truthful. And then he wasn't being truthful again to his fan base in 2016 when he said that Muslims were dancing and detained on 9/11 for dancing near the World Trade Center. They were actually Israelis, okay? So here's all the, they're misguiding us on information. And they're also misguiding us on the Epstein case, because I hear a lot of people left and right, it's Trump, it's Bill Clinton, it's this person who's involved. But really, it's all of them. And the real story that's missing is the connection to Israel. Everybody knows that Epstein was a spy, that he was blackmailing the elite and politicians and people like this for an intelligence agency. And it's been said and reported that it was Israel. It was Israel's intelligence that he was spying for. And here's some of the evidence that they have to support this. So Ghislaine Maxwell, she's accused of helping Epstein. She's reportedly hiding in Israel. And this was reported by Jerusalem Post earlier this year. Her father, Robert Maxwell, was a former Mossad agent. Okay, that's number one. And she was working beside Epstein and recruiting the girls for Epstein's sex trafficking ring. So here you go. They have this woman placed right next to Epstein. Father used to work for Mossad. So here you go. There's one connection. So this blog post that I put together, The Art of Sexual Blackmail, an Iranian-born Israeli businessman who worked for Israel's military intelligence, basically said in his book that Epstein was used for sexual blackmail to entrap powerful individuals in an operation run by Israeli intel. Okay, so there you go. There's somebody saying it, blatantly saying it out front. But they don't even need to do that, because former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak, worked with Epstein in an investment startup called Report Homeland Security, in a partnership reportedly worth millions. And Ehud Barak also introduced Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein to Black Cube to help cover up his sex trafficking allegations. Black Cube is a private intelligence agency founded in 2010 by former Israeli intelligence officers. And Black Cube was used to dig up dirt on Harvey's accusers in order to discredit their allegations and destroy their credibility. Okay, so you have all these connections to Israeli leadership, to Israeli intel, to people who were placed close to them. And I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but all of these people, a lot of these people are European Jewish. So that's the other thing here that's telling. There was also an independent news journalist, Whitney Webb, who did an interview with one of his victims, the first one to come forward, I believe in 1996 even. And she basically said that Jewish supremacy was something that was spoken about a lot. She was made to feel that because she wasn't Jewish, she wasn't worthy. She wasn't a human. And she speaks about this, and she said that she talked to the networks about this, and none of the media outlets wanted to report on it. So there is a link for that interview, and I will probably put that down in a link below the video so that you can see it for yourselves. On the 60 Minute Australia episode with Virginia Roberts, she kind of says something similar about the being trafficked, that Epstein was basically using her to blackmail people. So, you got all this blackmail going on, and a lot of these connections come back to Israel. And so it has to be, then you have to think about, okay, so you got Politico saying that, Israel was spying on us. We know that they were spying on us prior to 9/11. We know they may have had involvement in 9/11. We know that Trump tried to mislead his base about Muslims dancing near the World Trade Center who were detained that day when they were actually Israelis. And so now we have the whole Epstein case that everybody's being divided left and right. Oh, it was Bill Clinton. Oh, it was Trump. But really the bigger story is, who was he blackmailing for? And who is blackmailed? Because if politicians are blackmailed by Israeli intel because they had sex with minors, that's a very serious crime, number one. And number two, that means they are not serving the interests of the American people. And that's where we need to get this information out to the American people. That's why this is so important. And that's why I'm communicating this information with you today. I hope that this helps to make some sense out of everything that's going on. And I always encourage people to do their own research, because you might find some information that I didn't know about, or you might find some information that leads you into a different direction, and that's fine too. But I do think that there is a conspiracy with Israel, and I think that there's a reason why our media is not reporting on it. And there's a reason why our government officials always seem to push, whether it be political agenda, whatever it may be, legislation in direction of or in favor of Israel. And, you know, you got the Adelsons and other people in politics where that's all connected, but that's for a different video. But I just want you to research and to realize this is much bigger than what we think.